Can I tell you a final story then?
Yeah, absolutely. You got it.
So I've always been, first of all, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I would love to come back and talk more with you about this. It's such a passion for me. And to engage with somebody like you, I really appreciate you having me on your show. So here's the story. When I was young, I've always been a big fan of Westerns growing up. My mom and dad would let me stay up late and watch Gunsmoke and Bonanza. My favorite was Wild Wild West. And I know you're laughing because you remember
No,
those shows.
Gunsmoke was mine. Gunsmoke was my favorite. So.
Yeah. 1993, the movie Tombstone came out. You may have seen it. Huge blockbuster. It starred Val Kilmer as a man by the name of John Doc Holliday and Kurt Russell as a man by the name of Wyatt Earp. Now, Doc Holliday and Wyatt Earp were two living, breathing human beings who walked on the face of the earth. They're not made up characters just for the movie.
Exactly.
Now, Doc was called Doc because he was a dentist by trade, but pretty much Doc Holliday was a gunslinger and a card shark. And Wyatt Earp had been some form of a lawman almost his entire adult life. So these two men from entirely opposite backgrounds somehow come together and form this very close friendship. And at the end of the movie, Doc Holliday is dying of tuberculosis at a sanitarium in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, which is about 3 hours from where you and I live. Real Doc Holliday died at that sanitarium, and he's buried in the Glenwood Springs Cemetery. Wyatt, at this point in his life, is destitute. He has no money. He has no job. He has no prospects for a job. So every day comes to play cards with Doc, and the two men pass the time that way. And in this almost last scene in the movie, the two men are talking about what they want out of life. And Doc says, when I was younger, I was in love with my cousin, but she joined a convent over the affair. But she's all that I ever want. And then he looks at Wyatt and he says, what about you, Wyatt? What do you want? And Wyatt nonchalantly says, I just want to lead a normal life. And Doc looks at him and says, there's no normal, there's just life. And get on with living yours. Glenn, you and I probably know people. There's probably people out there listening to us that are sitting back and saying, when this happens, I'll have a normal life. Or when this happens or this occurs, I'll have a successful life. Or when this arises, I'll have a significant life. What I'd like to leave your listeners with is this. Don't wait. Don't wait for life to come to you. Get out there, find the reason you were put on the face of this earth, use your unique gifts and talents, and live that reason. Because if you do, at the end of your life, I'm going to promise you two things. Number one, you're going to be a whole lot happier. And number two, you're going to have a whole lot more peace in your heart.